Good afternoon, assalamu alaikum everyone, and welcome to a brand new video. It's 2024 and Club 100 karting is kicking off again. We're at Buckmore Park, but first things first, we've got a little bit of housework to do. We are no longer racing in the Sprint Championship, little tier. We are racing though in the SP60 Championship, and some of you might be wondering, hey Milky, what's the difference between sprints and SP60? Well, the 60 means that we have two 30-minute races. The SP, however, stands for Sprint Pro. It is the best drivers of sprints who get to race in the SP60 Championship. Of course, I am one of them. However, it does sadly mean that a lot of the other drivers, a lot of the friends that we got to make over the course of our Sprint Championships won't be joining us. We won't be seeing them over the course of these videos this year. So we won't be seeing this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. We certainly won't be seeing this guy, because sadly none of them are just good enough. So with that, we can get on with our SP60 Championship. But before we get into the nitty gritty, there's a little bit of context, there's a little bit of history that you guys need to know about this circuit, about Buckmore Park, before we can truly get into this video. Buckmore Park, often called the home of British karting. But for me, it's so much less than that. It's a circuit in Kent, which is quite far away. And through some cosmic magic, I've happened to do very well here.
Celebration, use of Spencer Hale wins in Club 100.
So now, for 2024, could the magic of Buckmore Park continue? At a circuit that even holds the same initials as my surname. Alright then, jokes aside, the SP60 doesn't stand for Sprint Pro, it stands for Sprint 60. It's just another event that Club 100 run, and it's got qualifying into two 30-minute races. That's where the 60 comes from, 30 plus 30, 60. So I thought I'll do these longer race formats, see how it goes. But yeah, here at Buckmore Park, I've had a lot of good results. I got my first ever two-stroke pole here. I think I got my first ever two-stroke race win here. I got my first ever heat win. I got my first ever class win. I got my first ever overall top 3. It's been a very good circuit for me. And for this championship, I essentially want, top 3 in the championship. I want to get some more silverware. So for qualifying, we're heading on to the final lap. And I thought, I've got these drivers in front of me. They're going to slow me down. So I'm just going to let everyone through, as many people as I can pass. And I was looking behind me trying to see, okay, where is there some clear track? Because the track was dry. And I knew that the final lap would be the most important. And this is where I found a bit of clean air. There was about 3 or 4 seconds, but I knew that I might gain those 3 or so seconds in one qualifying lap, especially if someone makes a mistake. So I'm trying to back off as much as I can, because over the course of practice qualifying, I did feel relatively quick. Buckmore had also put in some new bits of tarmac that were incredibly grippy in the wet conditions. So here we go, a hot lap, a little bit sideways as we get on the brakes. That, you can see the difference, the colour in tarmac. As we get off that darker tarmac, we suddenly then lose grip. Hard onto the brakes into hairpin 1, and we want to stay on that little sash of tarmac on the centre, but we outbrake ourselves. So that costs us about 2-3 tenths. Again, braking where that little bit of tarmac on the right is, and then trying to get onto that tarmac through a hairpin 2. Again, we missed the tarmac, so it costs us a bit of time. And I think we lost about half a second. Nice run through the S's and then into, I can't remember what it's called, something sweep. We get a decent run, again, new tarmac there, and then here through this right-hander, you can see where the new tarmac is. Dave is slowing down to get ready for his hot lap, but he won't actually have enough time. Then nice and late on the brakes into Garda. Wide line is very slippery on the apex. It's slippery here as well on the apex, but we're able to straighten up the steering wheel, get on the power, and then nice wide line through Cafe Corner. Again, getting off the rubber, getting on the power, and then the car's going sideways as we come across the line. And I was wondering, how good is that lap? Are we in the top 10? Because I'm usually not good in the wet. But have a look at that. We qualified in 3rd position. 3rd, within a second of Jack O'Neill in the wet. I was absolutely over the moon when I came in. I couldn't believe that I got 3rd. And we had pace to be even quicker, because we definitely bottled that final lap. So I was very happy. And then for race number 1, it's a little bit sunnier. The track is drying up, but not by a huge amount at this point. We're starting in third, Jack and Neil's in front of us, Fraser Brunton starting in second, and yeah, safe to say I was a little bit nervous. I was nervous before the day. I was definitely nervous for this race start because, yeah, third place. Jack goes really early. He catches me and Fraser off guard, but we've got slightly better reactions than Fraser, so we get ahead of Fraser. But Fraser has a little bit more skill than us, so he goes up the inside into the first corner, and following through is Owen Jedman. So we're down in fourth, and I'm like, you know what? I could have been in second, but that's not too bad. We get loaded a little bit into that corner, but we're in fourth, and to be honest, if you had told me on Friday night, you know, first lap, you're going to be behind the two Titan boys and Fraser, I would be like, you know what? I'll take that. That's a pretty solid start. That's a good place to be. And we seem to have pace. And at the start of the day, when I saw it as well, I was like, right, okay, damage limitation, let's get a good result. And then after qualifying, and at this point, I was like, you know what? I've got the pace to keep up with these guys in the wet. We can do it. We can make it, you know, Buckmore sprints from last year. We can do it all over again. So let's get our heads down, try to stick with Owen. We get a good run actually coming up the hill through Cafe, and I'm just thinking, you know what, okay, Fraser and Jack just look to be in a different league, but we can fight this for third. We can well and truly fight for third here. So heads down, see what we can do. We carry a little bit less speed into turn one. We take a slightly tighter line, but it was just about trying to find the grip. And again, we're running on this sash in the center of the circuit because that's where the grip is. And again, on the brakes, I'm a little bit wider than Owen, and as a result, that compromises me. But we get on the power a tiny bit earlier. It's all about finding those new pieces of tarmac in these damp conditions at Buckmore. And then we make this mistake. We go wide, we're on the paint, and then the front just will not turn. And we lose so much time to the drivers ahead. And at that point, I just dropped back. I couldn't stick with them, so I thought, you know what, I'll just show some clips of me lapping people, because it's the only action that I had in this race. I had Dave Cottrell a couple of seconds behind, and fair play to Dave, he just stuck. He held that gap for the majority of the race. But I thought, you know, we've got to make this video entertaining. What can we do? We'll just show some clips of me trying to lap people. There were some fun moves that I could do, particularly through here, just getting on the power super early, carrying a lot of speed into the right-hander, because coming down into the sweep, there's new tarmac, so you could be out of control, but once you hit that fresh tarmac, you then just suddenly gain grip. We get a good run, we're going to go up the inside. Again, we've got to be really careful because there's not much grip on the inside. We want to be on the outside. We're going to get a nice little old switcheroony, and up the inside we'll go into Cafe. Again, we want to be on the outside for Cafe. So yeah, just a little compilation of me lapping people. Again, someone going too hot in, that means you can't take a nice straight line. And look at the overspeed we get on corner exits, sideways down into the sweep as well. I have included, I think, my final lap, which I believe was my fastest lap of this race. Again, another nice run coming down the hill. I don't know why, I don't know when this has happened, but I'm suddenly starting to enjoy driving in the wet. In the damp, not in the full wet. Full wet is garbage, but the damp when it's greasy, it's fun, because I feel like nobody knows what they're doing. Okay, people do know what they're doing, but it just feels more fun, because there are bits of grip and you've got to search for the grip, whereas when there's just no grip at all, it's just boring. This guy's very kind. He lets us through. It does compromise our run, but hey, we had to go for the move anyway. And then catching up to these two, again, carrying loads of speed down into the S. And now I'm thinking, right, I'm going to go for the old switchback, a tiny bit of contact. The only contact I think we made in this entire race, pretty much. So that's it. We've tamed a lot since sprints. See, sprints just gets me going in the wrong way. Sprint 60, see, we're nice and calm. We got one track limit warning over the course of the entire day. One track limit warning over an hour and 15 minutes of track time. I think I'm a changed driver. I'd just like to point that out. We get a good run, and I'm thinking, do we go up the inside? But I just don't have the balls for it at this point. I'm like, why risk, why ruin the P4 result by taking someone out? Just be consistent. He ends up going wide. We take the position. These two are having a bit of a moment. We get a very nice run for the hairpin one, because again, we are using the cool new bits of tarmac, whereas other drivers aren't really doing that, or aren't fully exploiting the amount of grip that there is. These two are then side by side, and I'm like, We know what's coming. It's gonna be the old double switcheroonies. Here we go. Switch back, power, down the inside, 2 in 1 little bit of straight, I guess, because it wasn't even a corner. But we are getting towards the end of the race. This guy's having a bit of a moment, and I'm thinking, right, okay, let's just try to get the run through Cafe. He takes a tighter line than we do, and because we don't turn the steering wheel as much, we can carry a little bit more speed, and this time I'm like, right, I know this grip, we can send it up the inside a little bit later on the brakes into turn 1, and job done. And this, I think, is the final overtake I made of the heat, or final lap. Again, I'm just going to get onto that bit of tarmac. I'm fighting over it. I'm saying I'm not letting you turn in because I need to get my car onto that strip of tarmac. And this is the final lap, and I believe my fastest lap, so sideways pretty much on the brakes into turn 1. Then you hit the tarmac, you get the grip, kind of taking a middle line through the second part of turn 2. Diagonal braking, and straight onto that sash of new tarmac, and then get on the power once you're there, braking where the new tarmac appears, getting the car again onto the strip of new tarmac as I get on the power, and then through here, nice late apex through the first bit so that you can straighten up the car, fire your way through, and then just throw the car in because there's so much grip going into this sequence of corners. Car on the middle, again using this sash just to run your car through the corner, and then all that's really left is Garda and Cafe. Late apex through Garda, on the power, again just trying to straighten up the kart as much as possible because that's the best way you can gain speed, in dry and wet, but more so in the wet, and then nice wide line through Cafe corner, and that's it. Heat 1, or well, not Heat 1, race 1 done. We take a very nice result of, we finished in 4th place, and with that we now move on to the second race. So, race number 2. As you can see, the track is a lot drier, and we are starting this one from 4th position because that's where we finished the previous race. It's time to go racing, the final race of the day, and here we go. I also recorded this in 30 FPS because I thought it might save the battery. It didn't work. We get loaded, we end up going wide. Owen Jedman gets through, but he started from 3rd anyway, and now I just want to try to stay in 4th, but we get overtaken up the inside by Dave Cottrell, and I'm like, oh, for God's sake. I'm going to try to go up the inside into here. There's a little bit of contact, but it's just too damp on the inside. I can't get on the grip, and I can't regain the position, and I'm thinking, I can see where the top 3 are. They've already pulled away, and I'm starting to think that, you know, the race is already over. Well, it's not over, but it's going to be so much more difficult to catch up now that, you know, I've dropped down the field. So I'm thinking, right, I need to get past Dave as quickly as possible. He washes out wide, which means I get through, but now I'm on the outside, and it's a little bit damp, which means I end up going wide. Dave's on my inside, and he's able to get a good enough to drive, and the top 3 are getting even further away. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe I can send it up the inside, but he slams the door shut. He ends up going wide, so I'm like, oh, I can get him. And then all of a sudden, I've got Mike squeezing me out wide, and I'm like, oh, for God's sake, I thought I might go in the tyre barriers for a second. I got, you know, lid flashbacks kicking in, but thankfully we don't lose too much time, but we're down in 5th, and I'm thinking, that's fine, right. I'll just push Mike along, and we can try to catch up to the leading 3. So part of me was thinking, right, can I overtake, or do I just want to work with? And initially I was thinking, I want to work with, because, you know, I'd just been overtaken. But then a couple of laps later, Mike had pulled away from me. He then goes wide, sending it a little bit too hard. We're able to get a good run, and we're able to get back in front. And now I'm thinking, right, okay, heads down, let's try to catch up to the leading group. You can see that they've already started to pull away. Unfortunately, though, there was no real catching up to them until a full course yellow happened. And with a full course yellow, we were able to catch up to the leading 3. There was a back marker in between us, and I was thinking, right, I need to get ready for the second it goes green. I need to get past this back marker pronto, because if I don't, the leading trio are just going to pull away. This race restart is so important. I knew it was going to go green over the line because I was keeping an eye on where the marshals were, who had to return to pit lane. We go up the inside straight away, but we've already fallen to nearly a second behind the leading trio. So I need to make this first lap count. I need to make it count as much as possible and try to catch up to the back of Mr. Fraser Brunton, and hopefully to the leading 2 Titan boys as well. So heading down the hill again, it's completely flat, pretty much going down into the suite. I forget what it's called, Sime Suite? Whatever, it's a chicane. And then we make our way through garden. You can see the patches of dry sector. I wasn't taking as much curb to the left as I should have. I think that was costing me a little bit of time, but overall we haven't really lost too much time on this lap. Fraser has a little check behind him, just to see if it's me behind or someone else, or to see whether he's got a big enough gap. And at the moment he does, but not for much longer, because they're a hairpin when we go. And again, it's just about trying to put in the consistent laps, right? I wasn't expecting to catch them up instantly, but I knew I could eventually. And it was so frustrating because I was pretty much matching their pace, but I'm about a second behind. And when you're matching the pace of a group in front, but you're not catching them, and you're like, you want to match their pace, but you need to be right behind them. I was thinking, like, come on, I just need to somewhere magically gain 2 kart lengths, and then I'm in this fight for the race win. Because at this point in time, it was just taking absolutely everything I had. I was full sending it everywhere, thinking, right, I've got to give it everything. I need to catch up to these guys. And they were just so tantalizingly close, but just out of reach. I was like a toddler trying to get the sweets from the top shelf, but I just couldn't quite reach it. And there wasn't a chair for me to stand on, or if anything, the chair was the full course yellow that allowed me to get to, you know, with a fingertips reach of those goody sweets on the top shelf that you're not allowed to have. So yeah, I was just trying to get my head down, trying to put in the laps. We have caught in a little bit to Fraser on this lap, and I started to get home. I started to think, right, come on, I've gained time, and then I lost a bit of time. I'm like, it's fine, it doesn't matter if I lose time, because as long as I was gaining time somewhere, that tells me all that I need. Right, I am quick enough in some places to catch up to these guys. So I just need to keep doing what's right. I can't overdrive the car. If I overdrive, I'm going to make mistakes. And I have to have confidence that what I'm doing is good enough to catch. And it kind of is. They're taking a tighter line through hairpin 2, which was definitely quicker, but I was still finding it a bit slippery, so I was opting to take that slightly wider line, or I was just braking a little bit too late. And as a result, that was somewhat compromising. Fraser has dropped back a little bit from the leading 2, and we're starting, just a tiny bit, starting to reel him in. We had completely dropped 5th, which I think was either Hussein, maybe? Or maybe it was still Mike Filippo. I'm not sure, but either way, we had dropped them. And look, we're about a kart length behind Fraser. We are back in this, but the top 2 are starting to squabble just a little bit. Owen's starting to look a little bit feisty behind Jack, and I like to say I'm looking a little bit feisty behind Fraser, who gets some serious rear lift on the inside tyre as he shucks it into hairpin number 2. But again, for now I'm just thinking, if I can get to the back of Fraser, I don't want to overtake him. I want to push him along, because there's a gap between Fraser and Owen. That gap needs to close down before I make a move, otherwise I might not be able to catch up to them. And so the main thing for me is I want to try to win this, right? It's not about getting third, it's not about getting second. I want to win this, and I've got the pace to do it. So work with Fraser. Once we're in a position where we're close enough to the leading 2, then, and only then, can we go for a move. Fraser takes a much tighter line into turn 1. That works out really well for him. So I guess that's my first kind of visual indicator that, okay, I can start to take a tighter line through that. Well, I take a tighter line as well from hairpin 2 that time round. And Fraser is starting to close back into the top 2, and he's dragging me along as well. So thank you for that, Fraser. And again, it's just about putting in the laps, lap after lap. And I know I'm saying the same thing, and I'm not cutting. I don't want to, you know, fast forward in this video, because I think this was such a fun set of laps, and I enjoyed driving them, I enjoyed watching them back, so I hope you guys are enjoying watching them as well, even if it is with my awful commentary. We give Fraser a little pushy down the straight, just to let him know, 1, we're there, number 2, come on, let's get a move on, let's get a hurry up, let's go. Owen's now looking to have a go up the inside of Mr. Jack O'Neill, and he does the move, pulls it off. Jack's now on the outside, he's going to take a wide line, gets a really nice switchback. And retakes the position. I'm thinking, great, the top 2 are battling. We're in the fight for the lead. It is well and truly on. And, you know, I was starting to say, right, I can win this race. I can win this race. So here we go then, through paddock, we give Fraser a push, we say, go on Fraser, push Jack along. We watch them all go crazy, Fraser goes up the inside, we're like, switch back on you all, losers. And then I'm like, ah shit, I'm the loser, I'm on the outside, there's no grip. But we did overtake Fraser, so, you know, 2 races back to back, we overtook Fraser Brunton. Mission accomplished. You know, that's number 1, that's something I can tick off my bucket list. And then going into hairpin 1, Owen Gentleman goes wide, and we're like, we'll take that position as well, thank you very much. Up into 2nd place, and now I'm thinking, oh god, I've got to lead the hunt to hunt down Jack O'Neill. And to be honest, this is a position that I didn't think I would be in this race, but here we are. Also, as well as beating Fraser in this race, and therefore I'm officially a better driver than him. I would also like to apologise if I was slightly insufferable for beating him. Sorry, Fraser. But if I ever, you know, actually beat you in both races, fair and square, I will never let you live it down. So be prepared. But yeah, that was the majority of the race, and my GoPro managed to record the next 10 minutes of me trying to hunt down Jack O'Neill. And I thought, instead of me just waffling about it, I'll just let you enjoy me putting in laps behind Jack. All the way until the end of the video, so you can have some just nice footage of me putting in some decently quick laps at a drying, well, relatively dry Buckmore circuit. But yeah, thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, do drop a like, subscribe, all of that shenanigans. And I will see you all in the next video. We did end up finishing this race about 10 behind Jack, but that's because some back markers came into play in the end, and Jack fell into our clutches on that final lap because he wasn't taking any risks to overtake them. But I'm quite happy with this race. I think I had the pace to be able to catch Mr. O'Neill, but just a few too many minor mistakes. And it's always easy to say that with hindsight, but live and learn. We've got good pace, and I think I've got now the confidence to think, you know, we can actually fight for the top 3, maybe even fight to win this championship, but we need to keep our heads down, we need to keep doing the right things, and I just need to keep on driving like I did here at Buckmore, because this was a very, very good day. But thanks again everyone for tuning in, and I'll see you all in the next video. Enjoy the laps!